Hello ladies and gents, this is Michael Burhan here for your first episode of MovieFile. Yes, it's me sitting at the back of the couch until I can get the green screen sorted out, but if you bear with me, I've got a story to tell. What I'm going to be doing this show for is 100 movies in 100 days. I'll be reviewing one film a day, and if you guys like it, we can make this into a regular thing. So we'll see how it goes, depending on the comments, depending on the reviews, depending on what you guys actually think of this show to begin with. So let's start with our first movie. It's Superman, Man of Steel. When I was watching this movie, I kind of went in there with a bit low expectations, really, because of the fact that I've been shunned before. Superman Returns. But that doesn't really matter too much to me, because the fact is, you've got to go in there with a clear conscience, clear mind, and the trailers were awesome. Now, if we look at the fact that Zack Snyder has produced a slew of movies, if you look at 300, if you look at Watchmen, if you basically look at, to a lesser extent, Sucker Punch. So he's produced some really awesome movies to a lesser extent, so we knew that this was going to be no different. So when we saw this and we heard that he was actually going to be directing the movie, that it was going to be full of this. That's pretty much what this movie was. It was action-packed. It was full of scenes of disturbance, of blood, of people getting their face smashed in, and also it had a bit of a conscience. The story of this movie is pretty much the same as any other Superman. It basically goes where he's born on the planet Krypton, the first child born of conception, as the fact that they used to genetically alter their children in this, and also that they were given roles. So you'd have a role of a scientist, a labourer, I don't know, a crazy warmonger. Now with that being said, his father Jor-El decides, okay, you know, the planet's going to die, the only hope is to actually leave our son and send him somewhere else, send him somewhere where we can find and we can colonise. But he left it brief, he didn't tell the people exactly what happened. The elders didn't want it to happen, they were all just like, no, we'll be fine, what else do you want us to do? We need resources, kind of a selfish bunch. Then we have General Zod, who comes in, decides he wants to take over everywhere, starts killing people. And, you know, spoiler alert, Jor-El ends up fighting against Zod and ends up dying. Got a villain, been established, got a hero now, and we understand what the hero's resolution is going to be at the end of this movie. So, Kal-El ends up going down to Earth, and we basically go through a whole load of flashbacks detailing his life as a child, from when he finds out about his super abilities, trying to cope with his super abilities, and exactly where he's going on from there. Now you're probably asking yourselves a question. Well, that's pretty much a Superman origin story. He comes to Earth and he deals with his abilities and deals with everything with the foundation of his family. But haha, young Bucky. The fact is, his family is not that foundation, as we've actually talked about before on the Fanboys Anonymous podcast. This hero has basically been established without a conscience, because he's been dealing with all the situations that he's been dealing with only his mother to help him. Now, Pa Kent in this film is basically a douchebag. He doesn't want to see his son hurt, he doesn't want to see his son go into a situation where he ends up getting probed by people, you know, tested, Area 51 sort of thing. But he ends up also being a bit of a douchebag to his son and kind of alienating him to begin with, because you hear Kal-El go, you know, you're not my father, you're not my father, you're not my father. I don't like you, Dad. So with that, he pretty much raises Superman to be a bit of a douchebag. But that's not that bad, really. You know, he still has a conscience, even though it's kind of minimal. So we see Zod suffers for his consequences and gets thrown off to the Phantom Zone, while the rest of Krypton ends up dying. He finds a way out of there using a Kryptonian drive, because apparently everybody's a scientist on Krypton, and single-handedly keeps trying to find this child, because for some reason he's obsessed with the kid, like all good villains are. We also see a bit of an establishment in the relationship between Superman and Lois Lane. Lois Lane in this movie is played by Amy Adams. Now, she's did what she could with the role, but, you know, a bottle of hair dye could actually have helped her character out a little bit, because Lois was never a redhead. But that's the fanboy in me coming out on this. We see the establishment of the relationship, the fact that he helps her out in terms of getting her out of a very bad situation. They end up talking to one another, and she becomes the main point of contact between him, who's known as the alien, and the rest of the world. So we see that relationship established, we see these characters actually get along together, and we see them go to war together, so that really helps in regards to the tone of the movie. We also see the whole alien invasion concept happen in this movie, which isn't a bad thing. The alien invasion thing helps establish the fact that there's other people out there, people are a bit skeptical, gives a more real life approach to it. And because it's real life, people are basically trying to gun this guy down and find out who he is. Zod communicates with the rest of the world, the military hunts after Superman, and he willingly turns himself in. But you're probably asking yourself one clear question: how does he become Superman? Well, the great thing about it is he finds a spacecraft for some weird reason, ends up getting a suit from his father, Jor-El, who then ends up speaking to his son and gives him this little key thingy. From there, he gets turned over after speaking with the military, saying that he would actually do everything within his power to help the world and help its people, and then gets tracked off to Zod's ship, and then a huge load of fight scenes ensued. You got like fight scene, and that's the main thing in this story. It's what Zack Snyder does best. He basically puts out a huge, impactful, emotionless war, kills nearly everybody in Metropolis. They literally just turn this thing into a wasteland. It's awesome, and it's great for those of you out there who just want to punch someone in the face. Now, as the usual spiel goes, Superman ends up saving the world, but he also saves it with an iron fist, because he's forced into a situation where he ends up having to kill somebody. Now, since the Batman movies, we've been having here superheroes killing everybody. Spider-Man with the Green Goblin, Batman with the Joker, Batman with Harvey Dent, if you look at the crappy films that were done before. If you look at the Christopher Nolan trilogy, not so much, but still the same thing, where he ends up killing Harvey Dent, and he also ends up killing, well, he doesn't kill Bane, but Bane ends up getting killed in the movie. So there you go. You have loads of villains who end up getting dispatched and getting killed. So Superman should be no different. But the great thing about this was Zack Snyder knew his audience, so he knew that Superman is more sort of Mr. Dignified, American apple pie type guy, and he also cares about the people in his country that he's protecting. So the only way that he can actually deal with this situation is by forcing him into it. Make him make a choice. He has to either save some people and kill the villain responsible, or talk his way out of it. He tries to talk his way out of it, but ends up having to do the right thing. And the great thing is where Henry Cavill actually emotes. He shows that his character is tortured, he shows that he's upset, he shows that he's drawn to tears over the situation, because he has to go and kill one of his people to get this guy to stop. And we also show what kind of villain that Zod is. He's one of those kinds of villains that will basically stop at nothing to destroy everybody. He wants it his way, or everyone else is going to die. So let's go into actors. Basically, who are the best actors in this movie? The best two actors in this movie are Henry Cavill and, to a lesser extent, Russell Crowe. Henry Cavill did his job as Superman. He didn't say much, but he actually emoted everything rather well. You can see by the look at his face, his expressions, the way that he kind of has this sort of self-sense where he's trying to find his purpose. He emotes himself rather well. You can also follow through with his journey, because you have the flashbacks of the children to help you, aid you in building up Superman's character, because he is the prime focus of this movie. Now, Russell Crowe as Jor-El, he did an impressive job as the character. He told the story, he probably had the best lines out of the whole movie, and showed the fact that this guy cares about his son and also cares about his people. He progressed a lot farther after he died than he would have done alive as a character, and he was used also as a martyr to help elevate the story and bring up the villain. Kevin Costner as Pa Kent didn't really work very well for me, because the fact of the matter, he was just a pure douchebag. He was this guy that was just purely afraid for his son's well-being, so he wanted to sacrifice lives of others in order to basically save his son. He also was torn between the fact if he was his son or not, because he was very straightforward with Clark about the fact that he found him, and that basically this kid himself wasn't his true seed. Thus, we had loads of conversations with Clark saying, "You're not my father, so why do you care?" and stuff like that, which didn't really help the matter. I can understand why they did it, because they wanted to build tension. We also saw the character redeem himself at the end, as we saw Pa Kent running around going to try and save people when there was a tornado about, and end up getting immersed in that. His son tries to save him, but he sort of holds off and goes, "Look, it's okay, let me die," and ends up getting killed. I didn't really like this scene. I felt that it just did nothing for the character. I can understand where he was like, "I couldn't save my dad," but I thought a heart attack would have helped even more, because he's an amazing person that can do these amazing things, but he just can't stop someone from dying of natural causes. Then we go for Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I just felt that she didn't understand her character. She didn't know who she was, she didn't know who she was playing, she was just basically being herself. The same can be said for Lawrence Fishburne. I felt that as a Perry White, it's not the colour of his skin that was the issue, like a lot of people have been complaining about. It's the fact that the guy didn't know his character, he didn't understand who Perry White was. He tried to be a bit like a hard ass, which is what Perry isn't. You know, I've seen Perry being done by tons of different actors, and they've all managed to get the gist of who the character was. Fishburne, however, and also I didn't like the fact there was no Jimmy. He was replaced by some girl named Jessie, who was an intern and was only used as sort of a foil to get people into situations of heroism. You know, there was points at the Daily Planet where she ended up being encapsulated under rubble, and you had Perry trying to save her. That was it. She didn't even say much. Then you had Michael Shannon as General Zod. The majority of the movie he spent yelling all the time. I'm going to kill you, Kal-El. I'm going to kill everyone. I'm a big scary villain, so I'm going to yell. If Star Trek Into Darkness has proven anything, it's proven that a villain can be done well. As with Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Khan, he portrayed the character with varied emotions, sort of an enigma, and that's what I felt that needed with General Zod. Zod needed to basically show a different side to himself, basically an impassioned side, because of the fact that he was friends with Jor-El, we never saw it, and then his change, his sudden change into this villain, this disgusting individual that he became, we never got to see it. I don't know if that was restrictions on his character, or if that was the fact that Michael Shannon just felt, well, I'm just going to play him big and loud and disgusting throughout the whole movie. Again, it wasn't such a big problem because the majority of the time when he wasn't talking and he was just fighting, it pretty much showed that he was a bit of a badass. Now, despite these little annoyances, this was actually a good movie. It wasn't an amazing movie, but it was a good movie, and it was a nice little origin story that could actually pass along to the second movie and help build upon as a basis of either a trilogy, quadrilogy, or whatever DC wants to do with it. Now let's go for the rating system. I usually say 5 for good, or 1 for totally and utterly disgusting, or 0 for please miss this movie. This movie, I give it a 3. I highly enjoyed it. It told a good origin story, and it was a good Superman movie. And as you can tell by the numbers, people want to see this hero again. Now people are probably wondering what's going to happen with the Justice League movie as we progress. Well, at the moment it's actually been stated that the Justice League movie may be on hold, and they may continue with Superman 2, or should I say Man of Steel 2, or they may go for a Superman Batman movie. I'm really hoping for a Superman Batman movie to re-establish the character of Batman and bring the character about into a resurgence, building the teams up for the Justice League movie, but we'll see how it goes. But at least this movie wasn't Green Lantern. That's pretty much it, guys. Remember, what you need to do is just subscribe, leave a comment, likey, and tell me what you think of this video, and give me your own reviews on the Man of Steel movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think that the movie needs a lot more work on it? And what did you think of Zack Snyder as a director? Do you feel that he's actually brought something to the franchise that's never been done before? Let me know. And see you again tomorrow for another movie file where I'll be doing Star Trek Into Darkness.